Hello, and welcome back to Behind the Stories from DroneFieldMedia.com. I am Rebecca Ashbourne, and with me, as always, is Graeme Hanson. Before we get into it, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our other YouTube podcasts. Okay, so today we are talking about something a little different, but something that has become quite important to how we share our fiction books. We are talking about audiobooks, why we make them, why we like offering them, and why they can be useful for customers who want a story in a more flexible way. And before we get properly into it, we do have a small thank you for podcast listeners later in the episode. I will not give the details away just yet, because Graeme tells me that is called audience retention.
It is, and I promise we have a great discount on our audiobooks if you listen to this podcast. Audiobooks are a good subject for us because they sit in that space between reading and listening. They do not replace the physical book, and they do not replace Kindle either. They just give customers another way into the story. That matters, I think. Some people like a paperback in their hands. Some people like an e-reader. Some people are busy, tired, travelling, working, or just not in the mood to sit down with a page. And for some customers, especially customers who are blind or partially sighted, audio is not a luxury at all. It is access.
That is exactly how I think about it. I love printed books, and I always will. There is something about the quietness of holding a book, turning the pages, and seeing the chapter unfold in front of you. But not every customer experiences stories in the same way. For a partially sighted customer, or a blind customer, an audiobook can make the story available in a much more natural form. They are not being asked to adapt themselves to the book. The book is being offered in a way that suits them. And then there are everyday situations too. Someone might listen on the way to work, or while doing jobs around the house, or at bedtime when reading a page feels like a little too much effort. Parents might listen when the children are asleep. Children and parents might listen along together with the paperback and follow the words at the same time. This is a good listening and learning technique for the younger readers.
That listen and read idea is a strong one, especially for your children's stories. When we talk about the Rebecca Ashbourne books, we are often talking about stories that sit somewhere between mystery, history, adventure, and warmth. They are not just quick disposable tales. There are clues, places, characters, and atmosphere. So having the audio alongside the paperback could really help a young reader settle into the rhythm of the story. It can also help families. One child might read confidently, another might prefer to listen first and then go back to the page. And because the audiobook can be paused and resumed, the story does not have to be consumed in one perfect sitting.
That is important because real life rarely gives people a perfect sitting. I think of audiobooks as a way of letting the story travel with the customer. It can be picked up, put down, and returned to. That suits the way many people actually live. 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there, a chapter before sleep, a quiet moment in the afternoon. And, from a writing point of view, it is lovely to hear the shape of the story spoken aloud. You notice rhythm. You notice where a sentence breathes properly and where it does not. You hear whether a scene has warmth, whether a character sounds real, and whether the listener can follow the thread without being pushed too hard.
That brings us to production because these are not just files dropped into a folder and forgotten. Our audiobooks are produced using 11 Labs, which is a leading real voice narration platform. The important thing for us is that the final audiobook still has to be checked by human ears. We proof listen to the whole thing, make corrections where they are needed, and try to give the reader or listener the best quality experience we can. It is still storytelling. The technology helps us produce it, but the responsibility for the finished experience sits with us.
And that is why we have been careful about how we offer the audiobooks. People naturally ask about Audible because it is the name everyone knows. But Audible and Amazon have strict platform criteria and processes, and for a small author group like ours, we are not able to use Audible in the way a larger publisher might. Rather than treating that as a negative, we have turned it into something more direct. Our audiobooks are sold securely through Payhip, with card processing handled by Stripe. That gives us a straightforward way to offer the audiobook files directly to customers, without pretending we are a big publishing house with a huge distribution department.
And the files are MP3 format, which is helpful because MP3 is widely understood and widely supported. The one thing we did not want was for customers to buy an audiobook and then wonder, now what do I do with it? Especially on phones, files can sometimes end up in places that are technically correct but not very friendly. That is particularly true on Apple iOS, where the file structure can feel a bit quirky if you are expecting a simple audiobook shelf. The file is there, but it is not always where a normal person expects it to be.
Which is why we recommend the Book Player app as a useful option. A QR code is on the screen now. It is available on both Apple and Google stores. We should say clearly that DroneField Media is not associated with Book Player, Apple, or Google. It is simply an app we like for downloaded audiobooks. The reason we like it is that it behaves like a proper audiobook player. It has stop and start functions, it keeps track of progress, it has a sleep timer, and it gives the listener a library inside the app, rather than leaving files scattered around the phone. We also add links to the audiobook player to our audiobook listings on our website at DroneFieldMedia.com. When you download one of our audiobooks, choose the option to share the file with the audiobook player app, and that sets it correctly.
The library part is the thing I like because it makes the whole experience feel deliberate. You download the audiobook, bring it into the player, and then it sits there as a book, not just as a random audio file. You can pause it, come back to it, and not spend half your evening trying to remember where you left off. That matters for our stories because they are not just background noise. A book like The Smuggler's Map has clues and atmosphere. The Pillbox by the River has that sense of place and history. The watchtower at the end of the field has a quiet mystery running through it. You want to be able to return to the right point. All we ask of you is that you don't share the downloaded files. That way we can invest more into new books in the future.
At the moment, our available audiobook titles are The Last Train, The Smuggler's Map, The Pillbox by the River, and The Watchtower at the End of the Field. Full details are on the website at DroneFieldMedia.com, including the book listings, audiobook prices, samples, and Payhip links. I like that range because it shows different reasons why audio works. The Last Train has that gentle railway mystery feeling. The Smuggler's Map has adventure and discovery. The Pillbox by the River and The Watchtower at the End of the Field both carry that mixture of history, curiosity, and fictional mystery.
And why not get the paperback and audiobook together? If someone has the paperback, the audiobook can support the reading. If someone buys the audiobook first, they may decide they want the physical book as well. For children, that can be especially helpful. They can listen to the narration and follow the printed words, or listen first and then read a chapter again. It can turn reading from something that feels like homework into something more comfortable. A voice carries the story forward and the page gives the child something to hold on to.
Yes, and I think it's important not to make one version feel superior to the other. A paperback is not better than an audiobook. An audiobook is not better than a paperback. They do different things. A paperback gives you the printed world. Audio gives you movement, rhythm, and accessibility. Together, they can make the story easier to enter. That is especially true for children who are still building confidence. They might hear a word first, then recognize it on the page. They might follow the story more easily because the narration gives them the pace, and they can stop whenever they need to, which is sometimes the most important feature of all.
Now, we promised a small thank you earlier, so this is the moment. For podcast listeners, we are offering 10% off all our audiobooks. To use it, go to the audiobook listing through the Payhip link on DroneFieldMedia.com and enter the code Rebecca10 at the Payhip website checkout. That is Rebecca10, all one word in lowercase characters. The discount will be applied automatically at the Payhip checkout. Remember, the audiobook files are yours to keep, but please don't share them.
And that is really the heart of why we are doing this. We want the books to be easy to reach, whether someone reads them on paper, listens to them as an audiobook, or does both together. We want customers who are blind or partially sighted to have a better way into the stories. We want busy customers to be able to listen in real life, not just in perfect quiet. And we want children and families to have another way to enjoy the fiction books we are making. So, thank you for listening to Behind the Stories. You can find the current audiobooks, samples, book details, and Payhip links through our website at DroneFieldMedia.com. Nice to be with you again. I am Rebecca Ashbourne.
And I am Graeme Hanson. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and pin the notification bell. We would love to read your comments, so get them down below. Remember the Rebecca 10 code for your 10% discount on all our audiobooks. And thanks for listening.